Welcome to a special episode of Burnout Banter. This one is live. It was recorded at SMPS Southern Regional Conference 2026 in San Antonio in January of this year. Title was What We Wish We Knew, an AMA for emerging marketers. It's for, newish to the AEC marketing world. You've got questions. We had answers. It was a lot of fun. It was an absolute riot. And we are before we get into it, going to give you a little background on SMPS SRC 2026 and the theme of Unify. So we've got Chris here. He's going to tell us a little bit about it before we get you into the recording that we did live.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. It's an honor to be on Burnout Banter. It was so much fun sitting in the room and getting to field questions from our attendees and getting to chime in to answer a few. But to speak to the conference theme, I had a vision towards the end of last year's conference of what would it look like if we restructured everything to be more team oriented, to be more team focused, to be more unifying across marketing, BD, leadership. How do all of these roles or positions work together to create some of the best proposal content, to create project pursuits, marketing collateral, and how do we elevate our firms and elevate the role of a marketer in our firms? And this theme really came together through the planning committee and everybody getting on board with it. All of our speaker submissions were tailored to this theme. And so if you attended the conference and you felt like all of them were in line, that was intentional. And if you were at the conference, our conference branding and theme was just so felt throughout each day that I'm really proud of what we accomplished with Unify this year and excited for 2027.
Don't forget about us subject matter experts, Chris. We can unify too.
That's right. That's right. And the technical staff, like Jeff, are able to come in and provide a different level of clarity and honestly, a lot of freshness. That's what I felt during our session. There was a lot of fresh understanding and clarification of assumptions that I had had my whole career of the other side of the table, if you will. And that was really refreshing. So thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, and you got lucky too. People were well behaved and submitting questions through the QR code, and you didn't have to run around too much. We made Derek work when we did this last year.
I did not. And I think it's something to be said about, the emerging marketers. I think they're okay with submitting through QR codes. I think we've been trained enough from restaurants that we can use QR codes now.
Yeah. So why was this an important topic to you, Rochelle?
I think I've been doing this a really long time. I'm not going to say how many years because it's gotten to be a big number, but
You didn't have to know what Adventures in Babysitting was.
not old enough to know what Adventures in Babysitting was. Chris
So not even
said.
okay. You took and tag up on me.
But when I was first starting out, there wasn't a whole lot available to me. I didn't have resources. I was really stumbling around in the dark. I was desperately Googling, like, what the heck is a proposal? I'm trying to learn AE and C at the same time. I had no background in either proposals or architecture. So it was just chaos. And I was lucky to have a lot of really wonderful mentors in my career. But I talk to marketers all the time who haven't had that. And for me, this AMA was a nice way of offering all of the knowledge that Jeff and I have gained in our careers and trying to offer it to those new marketers so that they aren't stumbling around in the dark. And of course, they had found their way to SMPS way faster than I did. It took me almost 10 years of my career to find my way to SMPS, which is unfortunate. So they're already ahead, but you can never get enough of that knowledge, and I that was really important to me. So when this idea was pitched to us, I said, We have to do that, not just to get my marketing brain into these new marketing brains, but because we have Jeff. Because it can be really intimidating when you're starting out and thinking, I don't know how to talk to this principal engineer. Like they're big, scary, they're the owner of the company or whatever. Jeff, I think, does a really good job of breaking that down and making it less intimidating. And Chris also, being up there as our moderator, it was really nice to have your perspective with how you protect your team and how you advocate for them and how you've worked with SMEs throughout your career as well. So that's why it was an important topic to me.
Peanuts always holds a special place in my heart because at some point somebody said, "Hey, you're in charge of an office. Go do some business development." And I had no idea what that meant or how to do that. And SMPS was a great place to start because everybody was so friendly and welcome and opening and just made the learning process or the learning curve of that so much easier. So I'm always happy to give back to people who helped me, maybe in a roundabout way.
Great. Well, this episode meant a lot to me because it fit within our theme so perfectly. But also, throughout my career, I've noticed myself being a bridge between some of the more experienced marketers and then the younger marketers that are coming up and sharing knowledge both ways, helping experienced marketers learn new ways, new things that are happening in the tech world or in the marketing world, and then helping younger marketers understand all of the abbreviations and acronyms that we have to learn in this industry and also what it looks like to grow in your career. And SMPS for me has been that main organization that has advocated for me, helped to educate me, and then also connected me with some of the best people in the industry.
So, hi, everybody. I'm Jeff,
And I'm Rochelle,
and this is Burnout Banter.
a special live recording of Burnout Banter at Southern Regional Conference 2026 in San Antonio. We are so excited to be here with you all and can't wait to dive into your questions about what we wish we knew in our early careers.
Yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer and also a life coach. And so I'll be your subject matter expert punching bag today.
Now, Jeff is our straw man. I'm Rochelle. I am an AEC marketer by trade. I've been doing this a very long time. So I will be answering questions from that side of the fence. Our moderator, Chris, will be fielding questions from both channels. You can either raise your hand or you can add them to AHA Slides. The little link is going to pop up in just a minute. But we'd like to give Chris a moment to introduce himself.
I won't take long. Chris Martinez, Director of Marketing at KW Landscape Architects. We are a Texas based landscape architecture firm, but we like to say Texas roots, national presence. We have projects all over the US. And so it's an incredible opportunity to lead the marketing department. And we were this year's or 2025's Marketing Innovation Firm of the Year for SMPS. And so it's been a tremendous honor to be a part of something that what Damien was speaking about this morning during our keynote, a lot of that reflected a lot of the values of how we've built our team and how we've restructured our department. So it was really exciting to be in the room to hear that validation of how we've done it. And when Damien says it, you're good to go. So it's been great. And I'm honored to moderate today.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, so again, this is a live recording. This will be up in February. This is the February episode of Burnout Banter. So, how many of y'all have been in a podcast before, on a podcast?
We guys are experts in the room.
So, we're going to change that for everybody else.
Before we jump in, we wanted to give you a couple of core things that Jeff and I wish someone had said to us before when we were starting out. And the number one thing I wish somebody had said to me is it is okay to set boundaries. Boundaries are, in fact, a tool for us. They are healthy, and it's okay to establish them.
And I would say that it is okay to say no. No can be a complete sentence. Sometimes it's better to add on to the complete sentence of no with no, I might do this instead, or I'm going to do this instead, but saying no is okay.
And finally, no one understands your role and your capacity limits better than you do. So don't expect peers or managers or anyone else to magically understand what you're going through, you are handling, what your stressors or your workload are. And with that, let's get started. So you can go to ahaslides.com with that little code. There should have been a QR code, but technology.
It's up there at the top.
It's
Very small.
so small, you can't
Yeah.
scan that.
But with the new iPhone Zoom, you'll get it. No problem.
This is not an ad. Apple should sponsor us.
So feel free to submit this way, or you can just raise your hand if you have a question and we'll answer it.
So my question is, how do I get technical staff to see me as a trusted advisor, as somebody that can contribute to the conversation, or even just to see me?
It's a good question.
That is a great question. You're the technical staff member that I've been invisible to. So do you want to start that one?
Sure.
And then I'll say what I did.
So I think, when we're thinking of talking to somebody else, we always think about what's important to us. And I think that's really good to get clear on, right? What is important to us? What do we want to convey? And then I think we need to spend some time in the other person's shoes and think about what's they're dealing with on a daily basis, what's important to them. And I think the point where you can have really powerful interaction is in the middle, right? Where both of our things overlap. That's why this is bantering. But, I heard a really cool example of this, right? Like if your stuff is blue and their stuff is yellow, the magic happens in the green. And that's where you can really do some powerful stuff. But I think too often we just look at it from our own perspective, what's important to us, and we miss that opportunity to connect with that person in that way.
So when I was first starting, I felt so insecure because I really didn't know. I didn't know the industry that well because I started in architecture, which I had learned, and then I moved to engineering of a horizontal environment from the vertical. So I didn't know the subs that they were talking about. I didn't know a lot of the acronyms. So if you're in that space, how do you overcome that so you get to be a voice in the conversation?
Yeah, it's a great question. We feel the same way. As an engineer, I don't know anything that I'm doing when I start either. So I can relate to how you're feeling. I had an intern who had worked a whole summer with us and then spent the whole year with us, and we ultimately hired her. And as soon as we hired her and she started working, I could tell she was really stressed out and just kind of showing up at work as a different person. And I asked her what was going on, and she said that she thought that because we had now hired her and she had done a whole year of internship, that she was supposed to know everything that she was doing. And I said, that is not how this goes. It takes me, I tell all our young engineers, 6 to 8 years before you actually know what you're doing and can work on a project and know the whole process, right? So we get it. And I think it's just having that vulnerable conversation with each other that says, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Could you explain it to me? Or if you're really busy right now, could you explain it to me later? So we feel the same way. And I think we forget that.
We have questions coming in. They're not loading on my phone, so I'm going to read them here. Do you think AI will take over our marketing roles? Hot take question of the year.
I feel like y'all just both looked at me because I very, very strongly believe that AI is not going to take your role, but it is going to change your role. So you have to stay on top of it and you need to be understanding the trends. You need to be understanding the capabilities of this technology because what you are doing right now is not what you're going to be doing in 5 years or 10 years. I'm not saying that you are going to exit marketing or exit the industry, but you're going to be using different tools and you're going to be interacting with them in different ways. And so understanding how that looks for you right now is going to position you for success. So don't be afraid of it, but start figuring out number one, what are your golden rules? For example, I love to write. What does AI appear to be very good at? Writing. It's not. I'm going to, as a writer, say no. But that's my golden rule. I never use AI to generate anything net new. There are tons of tools out there that say they can do that for you. I use it for brainstorming, for strategy, for finding content, for corralling people, things like that. So those are my boundaries. Those are my lines. That's how my work has changed. And that'll be different for all of you.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, we work in an industry where it may not seem like it, but it's built on human connection. Like we don't accomplish anything without working with each other. And that is something AI cannot do, right? It cannot connect with us or connect with your project team or whatever, right? So that there is this human element that still exists in everything that we do that is really important to maintain.
And somebody's got to feed it information. So
Yeah.
it's got to go that way. So, second question is I'm new to the AEC industry, but not to marketing. So, how do you manage the fast paced cadence of the industry? And does it become more manageable? You should probably answer that second half of the question first and then explain how you deal with that, probably.
I don't think it changes, but it does get more manageable because you get better at managing it. I went from juggling 2 or 3 proposals in my early career to 15 simultaneously at the height of consulting without burning out, I would like to say, because I had just built processes and efficiencies and I knew my team so well. So that's what changes. You start to learn your team, you start to learn those sub-consultants, you start to learn what materials you have available to you, what your connections are, where you can work things. You start to get ahead of things, and it becomes much, much easier to do that. And the more you put those processes in place, the easier life is going to get. Use any cheat code you can. I have a calendar invite for literally everything. Rachelle, this morning you need to check your notes. Rachelle, this morning you were shredding your RFP. Rachelle, this morning you were doing X, Y, and Z. You're reaching out to clients. You're reaching out to consultants. Because I just can't keep it in my brain. Very efficient.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've been in this for 26 years and I think it's gotten worse. Technology has made it so that people want things quicker. And where we used to walk in backgrounds 2 weeks before because the engineers couldn't, they needed time to work and we couldn't change the architectural drawings and then change engineering drawings. And there was a very linear fashion to everything. And that has all compressed down into everybody's working in the same model going up into the last minute. And so being an electrical engineer, we are at the very end of the delivery of projects. And I tell people all the time, like, I can't do this if you're not going to give me information until the day that it's going out. Like, it's just not physically possible. So I think the only way that you're able to do that, though, is to step outside of the fast pace of the industry and be okay keeping those boundaries and, standing up for yourself in those moments where you need to. And, ultimately, if I lose my job because I say no to somebody, if I can be proud of myself in that moment, I'm going to be okay. And that may suck, but I'm going to be okay. So, not getting attached to the outcome of how we think things are going to go allows us to show up differently when it is fast paced.
That's great. The next couple of questions that I see come through are very related, and a lot of them have to do with how do we change leadership's perspective or focus that's kind of outdated? Maybe some Word doc proposals, maybe some outdated InDesign templates, maybe just some that don't really understand the new RFP process or the tools that are out there. How can we build trust with them and help change their mind to become more modernized?
Good question. You have any thoughts?
Excellent question. I've spent so much time trying to convince architects that we cannot respond in Word or PowerPoint anymore. It takes a little bit to help them realize the why behind this. And to Jeff's point earlier about what affects you doesn't necessarily affect the others. When you're talking to leadership about a significant change, you have to speak leadership. So if they've been using PowerPoint, I'm going to keep harping on that one because it's a very real and very painful example for me. If they have been using PowerPoint since they started their firm 35 years ago and it's been working fine for them, they see no reason to change. But they're not the ones sitting at their fold-up card table in someone's kitchen starting their business, working on PowerPoint anymore. It's you, the marketer, you, the expert in your arena. So you need to explain to them the efficiencies that you're going to see. I can work 4 times faster in InDesign. I can make our brand look more consolidated, more respectable if I use this suite of tools, Canva, Adobe, whatever it is.
You said it wasn't going to fall.
I lied. You have to speak leader.
I'll chime in on that, Rochelle, while you get
Thank
that
you.
coordinated. This is a language I've had to learn how to speak. When I took over the marketing team a few years ago, we started a new leadership team in the company. We went from just 2 partners, owners of the firm, to now we have 7, 8 leaders of the firm, one representing each department. I myself representing marketing. And so I had to learn how to speak language to designer. I had to speak language to a construction admin person. I had to speak to somebody who's dealing with CAD. And that was hard. At first, it was hard as a marketer because I felt like I was yelling at them about why we should do this or why this is important. And honestly, it took a lot of repetitive conversations and then proven results. When you win that RFP or RFQ, doing it the way you would think would needs to be done or breaking it down, there's validation in that. And you start to build that trust and you start to build that credibility. When that social post actually gets more than 3 likes and it's not just your team, there's some credibility there. When you have other companies starting to reach out to your firm owner saying, "What are y'all doing with your marketing? It's doing great." There's some credibility. And those are all real examples that we've experienced as a team where other owners have contacted our owner and they've known each other for 20 years and saying, "Hey, your marketing team is killing it. Can you meet with our team?" There's an instant credibility boost. And now they believe in what we're doing. So figure out what matters to them, what metrics matter to them, and then how to speak that language as how it's really helped me.
Social proof like that is incredible. If you have a template for that. Be amazing. Jeff, you look like you wanted to say something.
Well, I was just going to add, if somebody's not listening to you, find somebody who will, who they will listen to. Oftentimes we get hung up on it's got to be this person, and it doesn't have to be that person because that person listens really strongly to this person. And if I can get through to that person, like we can do a workaround that will eventually make its way to get us to where we want to be.
It's really good. Do we have processes that you have seen reduce last minute chaos the most? We've all dealt with last minute chaos. So what have you all seen that works to minimize that?
For me, there's a lot of different types of last minute chaos. There is the, oh shoot, I forgot to get you that thing last minute chaos. There is the, oh, I finally had a chance to look at this while it's on the printer or in the export to PDF, upload to portal phase, and I have about 4,002 edits for you. Chaos. I've had the, oh, I gave you the wrong renderings. Those are outdated. Let's update this entire proposal. Chaos. So all of those for me come down to coordination. I'm going to go back to those like have your plan in place. So what I make my teams do at the very beginning of every single RFP, I don't care if it is a copy and paste on call. I don't care if it is a little mini task order. If I am leading this thing, we're having a kickoff meeting. We are going through the proposal schedule together. You are going to tell me if you're out of office, if you're on vacation, if you have submittal deadlines, if you've got anything going on in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes to put this proposal together. And then you're going to agree to the dates of draft, review, comment, pens down, submission. That drastically reduced my chaos because I didn't know that I should be thinking about project deadlines while I was working on my proposal deadlines.
Yeah. So I've done a couple things. Our engineers will sit back, especially electrical ones, and just say, we're electrical engineers. We always get everything last minute. And it's almost like, woe is me. This is just what's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's not true, right? Like they can be proactive. They can ask for what they need. There are so many times where I'm like, have you asked them if when they're going to provide that? And they're like, no. Okay, well, ask the question. And then if they don't hit that deadline that you've agreed to, then you have something to come talk to me about. I can go talk to their boss about. But if we don't have those earlier conversations and just kind of sit back and wait, I've found that encouraging them to do the conversations up front really helps. The other thing that I've tried to do is what can we do where I'm not waiting on other people so that when the stuff where I'm waiting on other people comes in at the very end, I'm not now trying to do the stuff I have to do and the stuff that they've given me. So that's been really effective. And we get QC comments like, why are you doing this so early? We're just going to change it. It's like, okay, but it's 90% done and it's a lot easier to change it than it is to do 100% of it at the very end.
I'll just add that there's going to be chaos somewhere. And it's realizing that you have to manage your own pressure and your own ability to handle that. And that's just something being in the industry for 10 years now that I've just learned to deal with. At first, it was really exhausting and it was really stressful. But over time, it does get easier and you learn how to prioritize and how to manage what's really important, is what I would say to that. The next question I came in is somebody moved to a new company and they're in a remote role, which is very 2026. And so as the new person on the virtual team, how do you build trust and foster collaboration without being in the room or being in the office? What are some ways that y'all are seeing or have heard of to build that collaborative teamwork?
I managed my entire consulting business remotely for 8 years, so really good at this one, even though I'm an introvert and people scare me. So what I would do with all of my team members, my project managers, my SMEs, whoever I was working with, I would try to find something we could connect on. Almost always it was Netflix movie or TV show recommendations or food recommendations. And just be like, hey, thinking about going out to lunch. Well, what would you do in your part of town? Or like, hey, I watched this really cool movie. Have you watched anything cool lately? And that just like makes you human and it makes them human. And it can be literally anything else. I know those are like very silly examples, but I have a project manager I've been working with for 10 years now. And we still trade Netflix recommendations every single time. That's how we start every single email, every single phone call. It's, oh my gosh, have you finished this season of? Have you started this season of? And even though I don't see him ever, we are remote friends in that way. So anything you can do to be human. We also at Pi will send you like, hey, here's a sugar wish, here's like a coffee. We jump on a call and then we like have virtual coffee together, but like with a real coffee. So just little things to make you feel like you're connected in a normal way.
I would suggest not sitting back and waiting. My boss is really busy, and I pretty much demand that we're going to do a one-on-one. And I put it in his calendar. If I didn't do that, it would never happen. So I think if you're in that situation where you're the one who's remote, like reach out and make opportunities to connect with people. It may not need to be that formal, but it may just be calling and asking somebody how they're doing or what you can help on or, whatever that allows that connection to be formed. When I was working on Brooke Army Medical Center, I had a designer in Houston. And man, we were butting heads on what we should be doing in the drawings. And it took me flying down here to meet with him to actually get on the same page. And after that, everything worked smoothly. But it was so easy because we were both remote to just be like, well, he sucks and he sucks. And that was pretty much how we handled it for a while, which was not good. So you may not have that opportunity, but any opportunity that you can create, like Rachelle said, have some humanity with a person will help.
It's great. Our marketing coordinator in the crowd looked at me in the eye because she has put her one-on-one on my calendar because I am the busy manager. So it works. It works. Real life proof. There's somebody in the room. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I even did it with so we have head of electrical engineering that sits over 70 people, and I did it with him too. I didn't do it every week. I did it once a month, but I can guarantee you I'm one of the few people that he meets with every month.
It's great. There's somebody else in the room that actually reports to two different managers, and they oversee two different visions or divisions that have separate proposal needs. So maybe public, private, or maybe just their vision for proposals is very different. How would you manage that as a coordinator or as a manager, as a marketing staff? Because that is a lot of weight to carry.
This feels like we need to have a little round table. Like, I don't want to throw this at management and say that they are doing something wrong, but it feels like if you were that diverged, like you can run federal and you can run commercial, and they're two different animals, but you still need to have an overarching like firm strategy, brand strategy, processes, and approach. So I would try and call a meeting just to better understand expectations, better understand processes, where they overlap, where they need to diverge and why they're diverging, and if it's an issue of personality that needs to be worked out in that meeting, and that's not your job. Your job is to draw attention to the matter and make sure that we start talking about it. So always play the why card. Why do we do it this way? Why is this the feedback you're providing? Why are you asking me to do it this way?
I'm laughing because I asked her beforehand if she needed her power.
I know. Tech gremlin.
I think it's just getting everybody together and trying to get on the same page. We often assume that people know the impact they're having on us or know that the impact that they're having on another person, and that may not be the case. I had a client one time who worked for two architects on a project, two principals, and one was a yeller and a screamer, and the other one was manipulating everything behind the scenes to the point where this individual was physically ill. Anytime he had to interact with them, he was missing work. It was a really toxic situation. And he came to me saying, hey, I want to leave my job. So let's figure that out. And it's like, okay, yep, maybe that's a great idea. However, you have this great opportunity to stand up for yourself and tell them what impact they're having on you. And they were both shocked at how they were coming across to the whole team. One guy thought he was being motivating, and the other one, it is just like they were so far off in left field of what they thought they were doing versus what was actually happening. So just having those conversations is a good place to start. And you may not get what you want out of it, but you'll feel better that you tried. He did not stay at the job now. He's in a much better situation now.
Thanks to Jeff's coaching.
He will never not be able to stand up for himself again.
It's awesome. Write a book about that. That sounds like a great book. Okay. Any tips for how pursuit teams and communication teams can collaborate more? Oftentimes, brand identity for national firms are very focused on that, and the pursuit teams are very focused on what, proposals need. How do they get them to collaborate more? Because I'm sure if they're separated, that's a lot of coordination.
Sorry, Jeff is just like, this is a you question.
Yes, it is.
Again, this is a communication thing. This is likely a pursuit team has a set of requirements and things that they need to meet, and brand or national comms has their set of standards, and so you just need to come together and understand how they need to work together. It is fascinating to me how often marketing works in silos, even though we need to work hand in hand. I went to work with a company who was just fresh out of a rebrand, and it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. We had new collateral. Our proposal templates were amazing. Nobody had thought to ask what actually goes into a proposal beyond like the covers and the tabs. So the interior part of the proposal was super not functional because we have to like adhere to font standards, and we can only like margins have to change, and there was no flexibility in these templates for that. So we had a full-time graphic designer who was just constantly redoing our templates. That could have all been alleviated if the pursuit team had been consulted with the branding. So if you're at that point, get everybody on board, get an understanding of everything that needs to happen, everything that needs to change, have a voice. If it has already happened, start raising the flags and say, hey, I ran into this issue. This is how I would expect it to be changed, or I have an idea for how we can make it more functional. Like, don't be afraid to use your voice.
I was just going to add, so the last two answers have been right, getting people together and having them talk. I can't imagine that you guys haven't thought of that.
Yeah.
Does anybody having a thought come up of like, well, how do we do that? Or what allows that to happen that would be good for us to answer? Does anybody have anything specific around that? Or maybe I'm way off base.
Maybe it was as simple as, yes, you are allowed to bring people together to have a conversation.
So there's kind of polar opposites in our next question that I think we need to address both. One of which is a boss that gives you a million tasks at once and expects you to get them all done, but that's impossible. And the other one is a boss that is very chill and doesn't know how to delegate tasks. And so you're left guessing and you want to be more organized and planned. And I'm not looking at my coordinator because that may be me. So how do you handle that, right? Either you're getting too much on your plate or you're begging for more and you don't know, like, what do I do? And how do I prove my value and my worth? All of those things.
So for me, when somebody gives me a lot of tasks to do at once, I will always sit down. So I think it's really clear that first of all, your own boundary, right? Like, here's how much I'm willing to give to this. And in that bubble of time, here's the things that I think I can get done. And I would go back to that person and say, this is what I can get done. This is what I'm willing to give here in this situation. This is what I think the priority of this is. Would you agree or disagree? And if you disagree, let's talk about reprioritizing these things so that I can get them done. But, it's not possible to get everything done all at once with a boss like that. So I think it's on us to go back to them and say, how do you want me to handle this?
In my very early career, I worked for a company that had local representation and regional representation, which meant I got bombarded twice, not essentially two bosses, but I got bombarded from two sides with tasks. So it was locally, I was working on pursuits. I would just be handed an RFP or two or three, an interview, and said, go off and do this. And then our regional was like, hey, you're going to be a market sector lead and you're going to champion X, Y, and Z process, and you have to close out this and you should be doing this. And I said yes to all of it because I didn't want no. I could say no. And I just struggled to get it all done as best I could. I wish I could tell little baby Rachelle, who said yes to all of those things, that one, you could have said no. And two, you could have gotten them all done if you had asked what the timeline on all of these things were. Like RFPs obviously come with due dates, interviews come with due dates. Things like working on the blog, helping with closeout, helping with data management, I was doing research for a new market sector, research for a new region. There weren't time frames on those, so they just came with an urgency of as soon as possible. And if I had just asked, we might have been able to make a plan for, please have this done by the board meeting in April. You've got 3 months, or we're not even opening that office until 2 years from now. This is preliminary. You've got 6 months to work on that. Instead, it was just Rochelle on her computer almost 24/7, like drinking tea, trying to stay awake while researching housing costs in Denver, like 2009. So asking for additional information, asking for urgency, and getting as much information around that as you can so you can triage is super, super helpful practically as well.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting that you said, right, is about getting everything done. There is no world in which everything gets done.
My world, Jeff. My
No,
world.
it doesn't. It doesn't because there's other things that we think we are wanting to do that we never do, right? There are deadlines. We do have to hit deadlines with our projects, with our RFPs and things like that. But if I've gotten to the point where I have nothing to do and I've done all my things, I'm probably getting laid off. Like, that's not a good place to be in. But I think we create this reality in our mind that everything does need to get done. And that just sets us up to be really disappointed and frustrated with ourselves that we can't make it happen. And so, yeah, I'm with you, right? Like, we space the things out. Some get prioritized, some get deprioritized, but there is no world in which everything gets done.
We are two very different people.
And we didn't answer the other question yet either.
Yes. How do you handle the other boss that doesn't give you really any tasks and you kind of have to find it out on your own or go ask them?
Yeah, I'm really good at this one. There's so many things going on that I'm not taking the time to stop and think about how people could help me. And so having somebody come to me and offer like, hey, I've seen you doing this. Could I help with this? Or I've seen this is something that maybe we need to get done. Have you thought about this? Right. And so stepping into that and offering to help for me would be really useful.
Early career Rachelle, first year ever working in AEC. I had never seen an RFP before and they threw one at me. That job did not have like a this is what you're supposed to be doing. Please do this. I didn't even really have a direct report boss. I kind of worked for everybody at the company because it was really small. I was chaos. I was out like, "Ooh, we can do a new social media strategy. Ooh, I saw this really cool thing for like a trade show. Ooh, I have a really cool idea." And I would just do it, which is probably maybe not the best approach, but for me it really worked because I would just do a thing, pitch it to my boss, quote unquote boss, pitch it to one of my bosses and say, "What do you think of this?" And they said yes or no, and I started getting feedback on like, "Okay, we like when I do this. We like this strategy." That was my chaotic approach. Looking back, I might change that a little bit to pitch it before I went down the rabbit hole and created or did any of the things. But I kept myself busy and I grew our presence and it worked really well. So if you have ideas and you need tasks, just do them. Chris is laughing at me.
It's great. I love it.
I do try to encourage all our younger engineers to speak up when they have run out of things to do. Like, it's really easy to just kind of sit there and hang back or guess what you should be doing. But I tell them all, like, ask as many questions as you can. Tell me where you're at with things because, yeah, you just get busy with it all. And I'm not checking in to see every day what they're doing, what they got done. So,
It's great. Let's talk about being the only marketer. And you know how that feels. So trying to figure out how do I do all of these things independently? And also how do I take initiative on some projects or some things I know that need to get done and loop in the appropriate leadership whenever that needs to happen? How do you take steps to do that?
You're a unicorn. Congratulations. I have been a unicorn for much of my career. And again, early career unicorn, got tossed into a marketing director role that I definitely should not have had. And I chaotically was like, we're going to do all of these things. And leadership was like, whatever, marketing happens in that corner. It's magic, awesome, amazing, quick path to burnout. Came back to that role a few years later, took over as a real marketing director, knew what I was doing this time, sat leadership down and was like, all right, here's all of the things I could do. What is going to be most impactful for us? If we go down this route, this is what's going to happen. If we go down this route, this is what's going to happen. If we go down this route, this is what's going to happen. And so I started building a strategy that way. And it was much better for my sanity. But it also gave leadership a clear understanding of what I was doing, established me as a leader in that realm, even though it was just me. I was no longer marketing magically happening in the corner. They had transparency into what I was doing, and they knew when they had to step in. Like, we're going down this path. I'm going to need you to attend this conference. I'm going to need you to meet with this client or whatever. So that was how I approached that.
I think I would just remember that on the technical side, we don't know anything about what you guys do.
Magic in the corner.
It's being recorded, Jeff. So
That's the truth.
cut the clip, post it on social, get the message out there that is actually from your mouth. Thank you. Sorry.
But when you think about that, right? So as a technical person, I like to be right, and I don't like when I don't know what I'm doing. So what am I going to avoid? The things that I don't know what I've told Rochelle this over and over, right? Like I will defer to all the things that I have to do before I stare at a blank piece of paper and try to write a response because I just don't, I'm not good at it. I didn't take writing classes in college. Like that's just not my thing. So I think when you're approaching people, especially in a firm where marketing maybe is newer, it's trying to get on that point where explaining it and having it be expressed in a way that doesn't threaten people and hit on that thing that they don't know what they're doing. Some people are going to be better at that than others. And it's just something you kind of have to learn to walk with each person. But yeah,
Hope that wasn't the end of our session because we still got minutes going. Let's talk about social for a minute. Like, how can we show leadership or our boss the benefit of social media? Maybe if they don't use it, maybe if they're not interacting with it as much, maybe they don't know the ROI, quote unquote, on social. How do we approach that as marketers?
Sorry, organizing all of the thoughts that just happened because this gets asked all the time. And I don't understand why you don't understand that LinkedIn is valuable, Jeff. You're on social media. Just kidding. Jeff knows.
He posted his speaking graphic, so I'm very proud of him.
So
Yeah.
proud of him. He's better at it than I am. So, two things. The first thing is social media is sometimes slow to grow. And so it's hard to show that ROI right away, right? Like Chris was saying, first post, you get like 2 or 3 likes. And then the next one, you get like 10 or 12. And like 2 years later, then you're in like the hundreds and thousands. So it takes a while. So leadership is like, obviously, we tried posting last week and it didn't work. We don't have any new followers. Like, why are we doing this? So establishing like a pilot program, like we're going to do this strategy for X amount of time. We're going to assess it here. Here's our metrics, not just like our return on investment will be, but these are the metrics we're going to look at to see if this is working, to see if we're growing, to see if it's doing what we want it to do. That helps them to not panic and be like, well, obviously, this is a waste of time and check out. Showing them that their engagement actually helps grow yours as well. Like if you can say, hey, you guys interacted with this post, you commented on it, and it has 4 times more engagement and was seen more, or whatever the metrics on it are, than anything else, and that's because of you, then they get really excited. They're like, oh, I did that. So anything you can do to, one, make them feel better and feel them like nice and special, they'll check into it more, and then giving them that like breadcrumb step-by-step strategy, understanding social media in that way, I think is super, super helpful. And knowing what they're using it for. Like, are we showing off our portfolio? Are we building our brand? Are we doing it for recruitment? Those are different social strategies.
I'm probably going to get murdered for this answer sitting in this room, but I'm going to give it anyways. So I think we all see social media, right, and influencers, and it's like, oh, I need to get all these likes and I need to get all these people paying attention to what I'm doing. To me, what I've heard is that it's social proof, right? Like if somebody goes and looks me up, they see that I'm a real person, that I'm out there doing these things. I had a marketer that explained this in such a great way that has stuck with me for 15 years. She called marketing the aerial support that was in place for the business development people, and gave it this kind of military type metaphor that really did help see like, okay, the business development people, the seller doers are out there, they're the ground support, and the marketing is the air support that provides the proof that you can actually do what you say you're going to do.
It's great. I love it. Very good visual. Next question would be around training project teams to be better public speakers, to be better interviewers, and contribute to just content or maybe interviewing for a project. Like, what are some successful programs or processes or trainings that you've seen?
Do it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. But when I first started going to project interviews, I had no idea what I was doing. I would stay up all night. I'd try to memorize everything that I was going to say. I'm so nervous going into there. And then I do it 15, 20 times and that's all gone. I mean, Rochelle can attest to this. When we did our first breakout session at Cirque 4 years ago, I was running in and out to the bathroom because I was so nervous before we got up and talked. But now that doesn't happen anymore. It's the fear, right? You've got to overcome the fear. You got to do it. With my staff, I would have them do staff meetings where they would stand up and present, or I had every employee give a talk about something they were interested in before the staff meeting and just kind of share with everybody. So it was a different way to get up there and talk with less pressure and practice doing it, but there is no workaround of just doing it.
I think our technical staff, I agree with all of that, but I feel like our doers often put a lot of pressure on themselves to be really good at things. I do a lot of
You mean engineers want to be good at things?
engineers want to be perfect at things. What? A plus student? I do a lot of interview prep with construction teams. So you get a superintendent who's really good at building buildings and really does not like talking to owners in the room. And what I have found is that when you can get them to like check out of this is an interview way of thinking and check into Mike, just tell me how you're going to build this thing. Use your normal words, like throw away whatever script you wrote because it doesn't sound like you. Just tell me how are you going to phase it? How are you going to build it? Talk to me like you were on the site. I will sometimes pull them out of the room with the rest of the team and just have them sit one-to-one with me and just talk me through it and then say, do exactly that in the room with the rest of the team. That's super helpful. And then doing team training on how to rescue each other is also super helpful. If your team member starts looking like they're drowning, if that superintendent starts locking up, project manager knows how to step in just like he would in a project and say, thanks, Mike. Now to expand on that. So I do a lot of that as well to help them see that they can rely on each other.
I think because we are logical in this industry, right? Like architects, engineers, contractors, are very logical, thinking oriented people. We tend to go into interviews thinking that that's the best approach, right? Like I just need to give all this logic and then they're going to pick me. And that is the absolute wrong approach. And so, but nobody talks to us about that. We just think that way. And so this is how we give information out. And so I think if you can get them to see that there is an emotional aspect to all this that you need to hit on when you're in an interview. We were just having this conversation amongst our national electrical leadership group about turnover in our company, and it's 20%. And that's not good. That's terrible. And they're like, but we have a great culture. I was like, well, your 20% turnover would dictate that you do not have a great culture. And so they're like, well, what can we do about this? Well, we could pay people more. Sure. Yeah, that you could. We could offer more training. Great. I have never once left a job because somebody told me they were going to give me more training, right? Like there is an emotional reason why we're leaving the job. And until we address the emotional reason that's happening, it's not going to change, right? You can throw more money at people. They're just going to stay there and be disengaged and not productive. But that was a really hard conversation to have with engineers. And I'm not wholly convinced they got it either. So I think just trying to convey that, right, that there's something emotional that we need to hit on, and the logical facts are not what anybody's looking for in an interview.
It's great. As we wrap up here in the next few minutes, there's a few questions about burnout. So, what are some of your Burnout Banter? It's the name of the podcast. What are some of the latest things that you're seeing or conversations you're having with different marketers or business developers or technical staff in terms of burnout? And what are some things that are taking place? Maybe it's just disconnect between ownership of a certain thing or just overloaded with proposals or tasks.
The conversations that I have frequently with everyone across the board, all industries, all levels, all roles, is that everything is fast and furious and heavy right now, right? Like we are dealing with so much from so many different angles from work. AI is making us work faster. AI in procurement is making them change their deadlines so their procurement timelines are shorter. It's making it seem like we can handle 50 proposals at once when you really can't. So all of that is weighing on you. There is technology fatigue. So we have news fatigue, we have AI fatigue, we have personal burnout on top of our work burnout, and it just starts to feel super, super overwhelming. You have to protect yourself first, right? I know that's like the most obvious thing to say, but like if you need to shut down the news cycle, shut down the news cycle. If you need to block AI as like a keyword in your feed, go ahead and do that. It's okay. It's going to be different in 2 weeks anyway. It's probably going to be different tomorrow. So reading about it today is not going to matter, right? You can always catch up on those things, like protect your personal peace And then you can protect your work peace, and then you can fight your way through work peace, world peace. Then we can do world peace. Agreed.
So I went to a counselor a couple weeks ago and was struggling with, so I have my job, I have my coaching, I have my family, and we were talking about some of these things and just kind of, it was all feeling very overwhelmed. And he talked about how clear I was with my boundaries for work. This is what I'm willing to give to work. This is when I'm going to work. How clear I was with my boundaries with my family. Like, I'm not missing basketball games. I'm not missing orchestra concerts. Like, there was a national conference of the engineering team recently, and I was just like, I'm not going. My daughter has an orchestra concert. It's her last one of her senior year. I'm not missing it. I don't care. And I'm going to be there for that. Right. So I was very clear on those things. Where I was not so clear was in the coaching, because that's kind of the fun thing that I do whenever I have free time. But that was becoming so overwhelming that talking about putting some boundaries into place for that too, of how many hours a week I was willing to give to that, really helped. The other thing I will say is, the more you can learn to manage your own stress that you're creating, the better able you'll be able to handle the stress of our industry. And I think most of us, our own stress is high, right? Like, I have to prove that I belong. I have to prove that I can do all this. I have to prove to everybody that I'm amazing. And when you're doing that and having shorter deadlines, shorter schedules, you know, lower budgets, and all that hits you at once, that's when we go into burnout. So I think the more we can learn to manage our own stress, the more we can avoid that burnout. But that burnout is a protectionary piece that kind of kicks in automatically to protect us if we're not doing a very good job of on our own. So it's a good thing, but we would all prefer that we don't get there.
Great. Okay, last question before we end, because we do have a lot of people in the room that they're new to the industry or they're in their first couple of years in the space. What are some of the things you wish you knew? It didn't have to be a ton of things, but like if you look back when you first started in the industry, just something that you knew. I know you talked about training and the timeline for that. Like, what's something else that could help bring some encouragement to people that this is a good place to be, that this is a fun industry, and that it really can be a great career that you can build your life on?
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing industry to be in. Sometimes it gets a little frustrating, but stick it out. It's worth it. I wish someone had said just learn enough to be dangerous. I started out, I didn't know anything about architecture, engineering. I was a comms student that just kind of fell into proposals. So I was like trying to research how to be an architect and how to be an engineer and how do projects work. And it was super overwhelming. I can now write a project approach as good as an architect. But it's not because of all that research I did. It's just because I read a bunch of them and talked to a bunch of them and was like, oh, I can copy that. Enough to be dangerous, moved on with my life. It is great. I love it. I start those project approaches, I pass them on to the team, they do their thing, and we carry on. And then I get to do more fun stuff like the graphics and the strategy and all that good stuff.
I would say it will always get done. It may not be when you think it's going to get done, but it almost always gets done. I mean, I see so many people freak out working on projects and how are we ever going to get this done? And I talk to clients about that all the time. And somehow something always works out. The deadline shifts, we don't have these answers. So we create a lot of internal stress trying to manage this thing that's outside of our control. And I think it's always going to get done.
Jeff,
I,
always practical.
I mean, I've never once worked on a project that did not get done, unless it didn't get built, right? Like, it always gets done and you move on and there's 6 more projects coming after that. So the one that you were so worried about 20 years ago, it's not even in your head anymore, but not easy to live there day to day.
No, it's not. And I'll just mention one thing real quick is find community, find friends, find peers that you can connect with. SMPS is probably the best that I have found in that space. I've been a member my whole career and it has changed everything. Now I can call people all over the country, call people in a different city, and they know what I'm going through and they can relate and they can help and they can have good feedback for me. And I think that is a huge resource. And so you're here, meet somebody new, connect with somebody tonight at the social, in the next session, whatever it is, and make some friends. That'll help you a ton.
Yeah. And you're not
Chris
alone.
wins.
You're not alone. Chris's answer is great. Yeah. But you're not alone, right? We all think we're dealing with stuff on our own and you're not, right? We are all here to support each other and you can find it. And it's a great community.
Awesome. Well, that is the end of our session. And thank you, Jeff and Rachelle.
Thank you all for your questions. Thank you, Chris, for moderating.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Chris, you're a little over, well, maybe not quite a month, but it's 3 weeks outside of putting on and hosting this great conference, which was fantastic, by the way. Any reflections for you afterwards, or?
One of the things that has really sat with me the last couple of weeks as I've, taken a step back, gotten back to my day job, have so much more time, but the impact of the conference and hearing everybody talk about it on LinkedIn and sharing posts and sharing their perspective, some of which were their first time ever at a conference, some of which have been to SRC for almost a decade. And the constant theme of feeling more connected, the constant theme of feeling seen, and the education sessions where it just blew my mind. And so almost like you don't know you threw a great party or a great event until everybody posts about it and everybody can't stop talking about it. That's how I felt. And it's really, validating to what me and the committee had set out to do because that was our vision is to kind of change the game, elevate the conference and create an environment where people can connect together. And it just really it worked out beautifully. So I'm rested. I'm back to my normal day-to-day life. And I'm excited to help in any way I can for 27 as a past chair.
That last part's real important, huh?
Yeah. Past chair, past tense. Hey, whatever you need my support or direction or contacts, I am here.
I think connection and support is something we all need right now. So, yeah, it's really nice to find that there.
Agreed. I know y'all.
It is a great conference as an attendee. I really enjoyed it.
That's what was going to be my question to y'all is as y'all attend conferences kind of all over the nation, what was the biggest thing that y'all walked away with from SRC this year?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a really good question. For me, it wasn't one moment or one thing or one speaker. It was kind of the overall energy, the overall vibe of the conference. Jeff and I have done many of these. I can tell when you walk into a conference and either things have not quite gone to plan or there's not the same kind of excitement and passion from people in putting it together. They've all been wonderful, but there was a difference walking into this one where every single person I know y'all were tired because you worked so hard to pull this off, but none of you showed it, and your energy and your excitement and your passion showed through in every single aspect, the social, the tracks, the way you worked with the speakers and took care of us from when we walked in to when we walked out, the way you took care of attendees. Like, I talked to so many first-timer attendees, and they were so excited to just go chat with people, and as an introvert, I'm like, "That's amazing. I don't know how you guys pulled that off. You got all these, like, newbies to just go forth and socialize and integrate." So for me, that was it. It was the overall unification, I guess, to tie it both to the theme. It was beautifully done.
Small moments of reconnecting with people, going to the South, it's always a little more friendly than some other parts of the country. And, it's the conversations and walks on the river walk and, that you have with people at the networking events. And so, as an introvert, I'm all about connection too. I just need to make sure I build in time for myself to rest afterwards. And I think I posted, I've got my shreddy bear from Open Asset watching over me work every day. So, that was a good take home too.
It was, and so does my son. So my 5-year-old son has a Shreddy Bear now, thanks to Open Asset.
Shreddy Bears, best swag. Actually, I think Shreddy Bears are coming second place to the Cards Against Humanity. That was amazing. Conference Cards Against Humanity Proposal Edition. I cannot wait to get the New Mexico chapter together to play a few rounds.
That was such a fun idea. That was another example of people wanting to bring people together. And who doesn't love bonding over relatable cards and content from your job? We already do it over happy hours or at events. Anyway, let's put it in a game format and let's have some fun with it. And so that's something that we're already thinking about for 27 in terms of how do we expand this? How do we open up for other people to collaborate and provide some expansion packs with their tools or their solutions in the industry? So I'm really excited about how that continues to evolve over the next several years. And there will be a special place because it started with the conference that I was planning chair for. So I'm really excited about that.
We really appreciate you having us and Hopefully, we'll come with a hot, fresh new take for 2027, and we'll see you there.
Awesome. I hope to see it. I can't wait.
So, if you have a burning question, we'd love to hear from you. If there's something you've been wrestling with at work, whether it's burnout, boundaries, or bizarre end of year deadlines, send your burning question to @burnoutbanter@gmail.com. You might just hear it featured in an upcoming episode. And if you like what you're hearing, be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform: Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you tune in, so you're always up to date with the latest banter, tools, and truths about burnout in the AC industry.
Because crispy is not a career strategy.
See you all next time.